Hello and welcome to Among the Lilies. This is a show for ladies who are tired of pretending and are ready to be real. I'm Cameron Frad, and I am so excited to have you guys here on my YouTube channel. So I've been doing podcasting for a while, brand new to YouTube. Thank you guys so much for being patient with me. If you haven't already clicked the subscribe button down below, click it. I want to tell you first of all how this is normally going to work. Okay, so normally I'm going to get on and I'm going to give you a little talk. Okay, like 10 minutes. So today, for example, I'm going to be explaining to you how we're ripping apart our house and renovation and what the Lord's teaching me in and through that. And then afterwards, I'm going to take some Q&A from my Patreon members. So for those of you that are Patreon members, you can write on here, but go over to patreon.com/amongthelilies. Put your questions there. I already have a spot for you. I'm going to do it on my phone. I don't know how to use all this YouTube stuff quite yet. So go over there, write your questions there. After my little talk, I'll take your questions. And then afterwards, I'm going to do some more intimate questions. So for those of you that are patron members and you love the sex series, I get so many of y'all that just pour your heart out to me. And first of all, thank you so much for trusting me with your heart. You are trying to live the theology of the body. And a lot of you don't have good, beautiful, holy people that have been raised in the faith and understand that sex is good, not bad, but it's worth saving for marriage and what chastity looks like in and through marriage. And I have this series over there where I interview friends of mine that are beautiful and holy and have very different experiences of marriage, because whenever a husband and wife come together, it's very different depending on our personalities, our temperaments. It's different. Our past sin and baggage. And I answer those more intimate questions, not on here, behind the wall of Patreon. So I'm going to hopefully try to start doing more of those Q&As. People ask me more intimate questions. I will disguise the questions so you don't know that it's you. Because most of these questions, it could be 10 different people writing me or 100 different people writing me. I get the same question over and over. And a lot of times it's like, Cameron, you've probably never been asked this. And it's like, nope, yep, I have. So I want to answer those for y'all. And the sex series will stay over there. I think that's about 10 episodes. But then I will also weekly be doing some video messages for you like this, where I answer those questions for you, because my gift is not in typing. And I try to do my best to answer in questions, but I get too many responses. And a lot of them are of more intimate natures where I don't want to answer on here. So I will answer behind the wall of Patreon. So without further ado, today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you guys about, restoring something to beautiful, restoring it to its former glory. We bought a house from the 1900s, so it is over 100 years old, and it is exciting. It's crazy. The woman that lived there was actually this really beautiful, holy woman, and so I feel very blessed that we bought the house from someone that loves our Lord and loves the house, and it's been her home since she was newly married. She had a picture up in the bedroom of her in a wedding dress, and she's just so beautiful. And her husband unfortunately passed away in the last couple of years, and so they moved into the house, I think, in the 50s, and then now she's in her 80s, and the house is just too much. It's too big. It's too much work, and the house wasn't for sale. I really feel like the Lord just led us to it. We were praying about moving here, felt the Lord call us here. We were living at a friend's house, and a friend of ours wrote a group text to like her neighborhood chat, or like basically the street that we live on, saying that we were moving here. And I kind of fell in love with our street as soon as I pulled on it. I'm like, this is beautiful. I love this. She wrote a group text, and the woman we bought the house from basically wrote back, your friend should buy my house. And we went and looked at it, and just walking around, like, it was just, I don't know. It was like, oh, yes, this would be good. This would be really good. I know Matt and I talked about it on his YouTube channel. What was that, last week? But talking about just like the Lord wants to give us so much goodness. Like, don't settle for mediocrity. I was looking at some houses and I'm like, this will do. And he's like, no, our God is a good God and wants to give us the best. And we just need to hold out for that. So this house is, I think, what we're holding out for. And it's wonderful and beautiful. And it is quite a bit of work. The gentleman that lived in it before us, I think, did a lot of the home renovations himself. So for people that install carpenters, is that what y'all are? so for normal carpenters, they would be like, okay, we should use one nail board here. The gentleman that redid our house is like, if one nail board works good, obviously 20 nail boards will work better. So lots and lots of nail boards. And we've had some awesome Franciscan students that have been coming over and helping us rip up carpet and do things. And it's just been such a blessing. And I'm so appreciative. And then we've also had just the craziness of my health, you know, yeah, it's hard to move, let alone moving when you're not up to par and you're not feeling well. And yeah, that's been rough, and it's been a bit of a cross, and wanting to get everything done now and needing to be patient. But last night so there's been a couple of rooms that we've ripped out. So the dining room had white carpet in it. We ripped all of that out, and yeah, and as we're doing it, it's painful. I feel like it's a lot of work and a lot of nail boards. There was like laminate that had to be pulled up, and you don't know what's going to be under it. So there was a part of me that was afraid when we pulled up the laminate that there wasn't going to be anything under it. And I'm like, and now we have a hole as soon as you walk in the front door to the basement. Like, this is not good. We need someone to fix it now. But most of the wood, it's the original hardwood floors. And so, yes, lots of nails, lots of staples. There's certain beams that are kind of rotten out. There's some like black areas that's maybe, I don't know, not good. So it definitely needs to be properly restored. And so we're going to get someone in that, you know, sands down, replaces beams, and gets it all beautiful. But I was just reflecting on Holy Week and just where we're at right now in the church, and just liturgically preparing for Easter Sunday. But part of Holy Week is the crucifixion and the death and the agony in the garden, and just feeling like the Lord is calling us to die to ourselves and say, Lord, whatever you want. And I think that he wants to restore me and you to beautiful. He wants to restore us to our original dignity and worth and say, you are very, very good. And we're like, no, Lord, I'm good here. Like, I have this carpet down and things look nice, and I don't want you to rip it up. Don't rip it up because I'm wearing the right veil, or I have the right prayer book, or I don't know, fill in the blank, whatever it is. I go to the right youth group or the right retreat where I'm really diving in, but don't rip up the carpet. I don't want you to see what's under it. Like, I kind of have things together enough that other people think that I'm smart and I'm holy. I don't want you to mess with it. And the Lord's like, no, but what I have for you is so much better than this. Like, your beauty and your worth, like, I've got to get this carpet up, you know, like, those rotten beams need to go. Like, even though things look okay on the surface, like, I need to get rid of that. And I want to sand you down, and I want to varnish you and make you shine like you did 100 years ago. Most of you watching are probably not 100 years old, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, 40 years ago. I think that we have, whether it's from our own past sin, or whether it's because of abuse that's been done to us, or situations in our lives, like, we have been broken and bruised and hurt. And yeah, I think about, like, you can't see this wood, but even the wood of this table, like these knots, like, I feel like everyone has a story. And I think sometimes with our hearts where it's broken or bruised, we're like, okay, Lord, like, can you just show people, or we try to show people just the good side and the areas that we're not hurt in, and be like, look, I'm a good Catholic. I'm a good Christian. I love Jesus. Look at this. Don't look over here at this wound. And I feel like those wounds are where Christ wants to radiate from. And he wants to penetrate into that brokenness, into that bruise, into that cut, and lay it with gold, you know, refine as fire. He wants to purify us. And it is hard to say yes in the process. And sometimes it's like soothing balm. You know, I put some wax down on certain areas of the floor, and it just shined, and it was beautiful. And it was like, oh, I feel like sometimes that's where we are at in prayer with the Lord, and he's just like rubbing balm on us, and we're like, yes, thank you, Jesus. I need that. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Yes, soothe my wounds, soothe my pain. And other times, it's like a bunch of Franciscan young adult men with a bunch of crowbars just going to town. And you're like, oh, this hurts. No, it's too painful. I don't want to do this. And it's messy. And you may step on nails and staples. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Please, no, God. But I think that now is the perfect time to let him do it. I was at mass praying this morning, and I was having stomach issues and pain, and I'm curled up in a ball and running to and from the restroom. I know, TMI, but just praying like, all right, Lord, whatever you need to do in my heart, whatever you need to do in my body right now to restore it to good and working and good function, a good functioning manner. Like the Lord has come to give us life and life to the full. He doesn't want us to live a mediocre life. He wants us to live an abundant life, right? To know our worth, our dignity, and our goodness, and that it is so good. And the restored beauty of the way we were made in his image and likeness. Like, you are a beautiful daughter of God, and he loves you. And it doesn't matter how far away from him you are right now. It doesn't matter if you are a stripper in the middle of downtown. It doesn't matter if you are in church praying and everyone thinks you're the holiest thing they've ever seen, and you are knee deep or neck deep in an addiction to pornography or an eating disorder or whatever. Like, cry out for help. Go to the sacraments. Beg the Lord to restore you. He is wanting and desiring for you to come to him and just say, Lord, do what you need to do. Like, I give it over to you. Like, here you go. Here's my heart. I think it's C.S. Lewis has something that talks about, I wish I could remember what book it is. Someone can write it below because you guys probably will remember it better than I can in this current moment. But it was something about like the cost of love, like love costs, right? And the pain of it. And it's like, if you don't want to love, it's okay. You may lock up your heart. You may put it in a safe and lock it up there, and nobody can hurt you. But you need to know your heart will not stay the same. It'll harden. It will, it won't be capable of giving itself away. So like, we lock up our heart, right? And we can't love. And when we love truly, when we love as Christ loved, like, how did Christ love? He loved to death, like death on a cross. He's like, here you go. Here's my heart. And sometimes when we are in an intimate relationship with someone, when we love someone, when we are called to love like Christ loved, we say, if you want to hurt me, this is where you hurt me. Okay, here you go. Here is my heart. It is exposed. And I feel like as we're ripping up these carpets, the floors are exposed. There's also a lot of nail boards. We got rid of most of the ones on the main level so the kids aren't going to step on them. We're making everyone wear shoes right now. But it's vulnerable. I feel like at any moment, like if I leave my bedroom to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, if I don't put on my slippers, I may step on a bunch of old rusty nails. I feel like that's how it is when we're letting the Lord go deeper in our hearts. And we're like, okay, here you go. I'm exposed. And it's like, it may be painful. We may step on a bunch of rusty nails. And it's like, all right, Lord, yes, I still choose to love you. I still choose to say yes in this moment of suffering. Unite me to you. I think about the agony in the garden. Like, we're about to experience that, right? So we're going into the Holy Trinium. I mess up words all the time. You know what I mean. It's Holy Week. We're going into Holy Thursday, Good Friday. And we're thinking about the agony in the garden. And it wasn't like Christ was a little bit stressed out. He was sweating blood. His body was so stressed out. And he wasn't like, oh, I really want to do this. It's like, okay, Lord, I beg, if this doesn't have to be, I beg that this cup can pass by me. But not my will, your will be done. And I think that's what we need to say, Lord, what are you trying to teach me right now? Maybe I failed at all of Lent. Maybe I gave up whatever it was and I haven't given it up once this whole time. Or maybe in the tail end, I've been binge eating on chocolate or drinking 50 cups of coffee a day, whatever it is that you've given up, right? And just say, Lord, okay, not my will, but your will be done. And just choose to suffer that much more in these next few days, not for the sake of suffering, but for redemptive suffering's sake. So to unite us to Christ, right? To follow him and say, like, I love you. Thank you so much. And I want to be close to you, even if it means embracing the cross, even if it means you pulling me into your sacred heart. It hurts to love, right? And to love like him, it hurts a lot. But to be willing to go there because his plan for us is so much greater, right? His plan for us is so much greater than anything we can try to put together, that we can try to say, okay, this is what I want in my life right now. So just, yeah, dive in and just give it to him and let him restore you to beautiful, and just say yes. And yeah, even, I don't know, I think about someone that's maybe watching or listening who, I think especially if you've put all these carpets on or masks on and everyone thinks that you're one way and you're not. Find a good spiritual director, and trust the, I don't know, the vocations director that you're currently discerning with. Maybe you haven't told him or her about this thing in this back. Oh, my earring just got stuck in the microphone. In this back dark corner. Maybe you haven't told them about that. Bring it out into the light. Tell them. Like, you can only be the best priest or sister or religious if you are willing to die as Christ died. Die to yourself and entrust your superior, entrust your spiritual director with those wounds, right? And bring it out into the light and say, here you go, Lord, like, restore me, make me whole, make me new in your image and likeness. Yeah, that's my prayer right now as we're going through this with the house, as my body is doing weird, crazy things. I'm just praying, like, Lord, okay, don't let an ounce of this suffering go to waste. Like, use it to unite me to you. I have a couple of friends right now that I would like to ask for prayers for. One is one of my best friend's sister-in-law, and her and her husband are pregnant with their first baby. Well, the wife's pregnant with their first baby. Tomorrow, they were so excited about this baby. Tomorrow they are going in, she's going in for a C-section. This baby Ava, you can pray for her. I hope it's okay I'm using her name. I'm not going to use the parent's name just in case they don't, but pray for them. Pray for baby Ava's mom. So she has a rare form of dwarfism. And tomorrow morning, the mom is going to have a C-section. And the baby's not going to make it. They may only have a couple minutes with her. They may have an hour with her. But it's a very rare form, and there's only a few people that have survived in the world with this rare form. And so right now, the baby's growing in the mom's womb, and it's okay. As soon as the baby's born, it's not long that the baby will be dying. Fortunately, the hospital is being very, very lovely and good and letting a priest come in and baptize the baby. This is more suffering than I can even imagine. I know that feeling of preparing for a C-section, and it is stressful. It is a lot. It is exhausting, and not knowing, and then knowing that your baby's not going to make it too. Like, it's hard, and it's a cross that that I'm not called to carry right now, but I feel a little bit of the cross, and I'm praying for this friend of mine, and yeah. I have another friend whose mom's basically on her deathbed, so I would love prayers for her, that she has a peaceful, restful death. I know during this COVID craziness, a lot of people have lost loved ones, or they've watched loved ones suffer. I know people that have parents in nursing homes, and they haven't seen them. They haven't been able to go visit them, and they're doing like glass visits and trying to say hi through the window, right? There's these crosses, like give it over to our Lord. Or some of you are in parts of the world that you're not allowed to go to Mass. Like, you're not allowed to go receive the sacraments during Holy Week. Like, this is a time to be with the Lord. Maybe you're a priest watching and you're not allowed to give the sacraments. I challenge you to pray and ask the Lord, what can I do? Maybe there's a family or two that you can go to their houses and give them the sacraments, even though you're not allowed to be at your church and do it. Like, maybe you can. I mean, we need to look at some of our Eastern brothers and sisters that are persecuted for the faith, right? And it is illegal for them to celebrate the sacraments. They're still doing it. They're being courageous, and they're going above and beyond. And they're being Christ, and they're willing to lay down their life for love of the Lord. And we need to do that. We need to pray for each other, and we need to be courageous in these times. But yeah, I will pray for each and every one of you, and I thank you for your prayers. And Patreon members, I thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being patient with me through these times. A few things I want to let you know that I am working on right now. So obviously you can see I'm doing this YouTube thing. I'm borrowing Pints with Aquinas studio. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, Pints with Aquinas, for letting us use your studio. I am trying to get enough money raised so I can have my own equipment, my own lighting in my own house. And I can have ladies over and I can do face-to-face interviews again. I love the interviews on our podcast. We want to do that, but do it face-to-face in person, but also via camera, so you can participate in that. I'm hiring more people to work on our social media and to pull apart clips of these YouTube chat things, whatever you call this, and just trying to let Among the Lilies bless even more people. So Patreon members, thank you so much. You make this possible. So I'm going to go over, if you haven't already written your question, go over to patreon.com/amongthelilies, and I'm going to read some of your questions over there now and answer them. And I'm going to do a good bit here on the camera so you can have it. And then the more intimate ones, I'm going to stop recording and record just over there on Patreon for you. So I'm going to pull up these questions. So I want to, so if you sign up for Patreon, so if you want to be a patron member, if you want to be part of our intimate tribe, you get a really cool, awesome mug, which I don't have. It's way cooler than this tea cup that I'm currently drinking out of. It's actually really beautiful. It says Among the Lilies. I actually have an Among the Lilies shirt on. I didn't even do that on purpose. Look at that. Ooh, I don't know if you can see it. Kind of ish. I don't know what. There we go. We have, actually, anyone can order the shirt. If you go to CameronFrad.com, there's a link where you can order shirts. You can't get the mugs. The mugs are exclusive for patron members only. And actually, one of our girls we have a Marco Polo group, which is amazing and wonderful and beautiful women over there that we interact with each other. And she put like a note up basically saying, these mugs are for patron members only. And she has her Pints of the Aquinas one and her Among the Lilies one. And they're just good, beautiful mugs, like handmade here in the US, and they're just gorgeous and they feel good. They're great mugs. But there's all sorts of stuff over for you over there on patreon.com/amongthelilies. If you haven't already subscribe and share this with friends. You guys are my main way of getting other people to know about this YouTube channel and about the podcast. Thank you for being patient with me as we're trying to figure all this out. I'm going to make Wednesday my recording day. So unless this week I was going to do it Monday, unless I have some health issue that I can't do it. I'm going to try to do it every Wednesday, and it'll be a similar format. I'll give a talk, I'll take patron questions, and then I'll do more intimate questions that'll only be for patron members. So subscribe, share this with a friend. Okay, I'm going to take a few questions. So first question, Erica asks, what it actually means to compromise in marriage charitably? That's a good question. Okay, so there are, how do we compromise in marriage in a charitable way? I think this is harder for people that are a little more harder head like me and have a harder time admitting when we're wrong or thinking my way is the right way. So cleric people, this is really hard for you, especially when you're like, okay, this is the way we're going to do things. But I think it is being humble. I think humility is the key way to be charitable and to compromise on things and say, okay, we're going to do this the way you want to do it. And I think also looking what's actually best for our family and really having that conversation. And there's been multiple times that Matt and I have disagreed on things and we're like, okay, this is where I'm coming from. So one thing recently that came up, our son Liam's seen the Passion of the Christ. So he's 13. Our 11-year-old and 8-year-old have not. And recently, I don't even remember how the conversation went, but basically the kids informed me that Daddy said they could all watch it. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. And my normal reaction is to be like, no, the answer is no. The girls are too young. We're not doing this. And I don't think I did that. But I may have done that in the beginning. That never works. When I do that, it doesn't work. But I waited till a different moment and I kind of was like, hey, Matt, can I talk to you about this? This whole watching the Passion. Like, I think it's great that they want to do it. Could we maybe find another Jesus movie? I think that the Passion is so good and Mel Gibson did a great job. I think it's too much for our young girls. I think not even the blood and the gore of the crucifixion, but just like the scariness of like that demon character going around, like the agony in the garden. I'm like, I really think it's too much. I'm very happy to watch Chosen episodes with them, or can we find another movie? And it was good. We had a conversation and he was like, okay, no, yeah, you're right. Let's not do that. I will watch it just with the oldest. I can't even remember if we said oldest 1 or 2. But but we compromised on it. We're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, great, good. We've also had times where it's been no TV in the house, or I don't know, this is the time the kids go to bed. Or recently, well, I'm not even gonna share that one, but yeah, there's times. But I think when one of us humbly brings it up, not in the heat of the moment. When we bring it up in the heat of the moment, there's been times where it's like, oh my goodness, you're being psycho and you need to calm down. That's not a good time to bring it up. Hey, maybe you're wrong here, but bringing it up outside of the time and then saying like, okay, I'm going to let you make the call on this one. Okay. Max, we have a black Russian Terrier. We have a dog that's bigger than me. He's huge. And that was something that I told Matt. I was like, okay, I don't think we should get a dog, but I'm going to leave this up to you. And I feel like for the longest time afterwards, if he's like, you're always making the choices, I'm like, that big black dog, that was your choice. So yeah, finding ways to communicate, whether it's big or small, but being willing to admit when we're wrong, and then also compromise, like saying, okay, I'll let you make the call in this situation. Thank you, Erica, for your question. Emily, why lilies? Oh, why is it called Among the Lilies? So that's a great question. So I thought of, so I originally was thinking more like lilies among the thorns. And it's like the beauty that shines. So even like looking at roses, like looking at a thorn bush and seeing like a rose or a lily or something beautiful come out of something that is thorny and ugly. And so that's kind of where I was going. And then it was like Christ is with us in the lilies of the field, scriptural reference. I don't know. Yeah, and Among the Lilies was like born from that. There's a prayer too that's really beautiful. This started like, gosh, I don't know, 5 years ago. And I probably had a better answer back then. But I love the idea of yeah, the beauty of lilies. And I think that with most flowers, I feel like once one blossoms, it gives permission for all the others to blossom. So actually on the little intro video, isn't that amazing? Matt hired someone to do that for me and I love it. But once one flower blossom opens, it gives permission for all the others to open. And I think often as women, we are so afraid of each other. And I think when we are like doing our hair, dressing a certain way, we're doing it for other women more than guys. And I think sometimes, I don't know, I didn't have a lot of girlfriends growing up, and I don't do girl drama. And the cattiness and the stabbing each other in the back. And I think oftentimes women, like if we were flowers, we'd be like this all the time because it's like, I'm not going to let her hurt me. No, I'm staying hard and I'm not going to let her. And then it's like one starts and it's like attack mode, right? And it's like we point out all the bad and all the imperfections, and we're more likely to rip each other apart than build each other up. And I think as sisters in Christ, we need to love one another. First and foremost, love one another. We are different, yes, but we need to see the good in each other, and we need to affirm the good, and we need to see someone's gifts and affirm it, and not play the comparison game, and not play well, she better stay down there so I can come up here. It's like the poppy syndrome. British people, you'll get it. Americans, I'll explain it another day. But yeah, I think it is. I think when we're among the lilies, like we can all open up, we can all be real and trust that it's a safe environment and we're not going to attack one another and we're going to let the beauty shine. And with it comes mess, right? With lilies, like the aroma, you're like, oh my goodness, these lilies smell amazing. But with it comes those little, I don't even know what you call the little pollinator things inside the lilies. And they like make a mess, and they're a big hot mess all over the place. And when lilies die, I feel like they're the messiest flowers, right? But I don't know. So I love Among the Lilies. I love my lilies. And I feel like we have a great, wonderful, beautiful environment and safe place. I have so many people tell me, like the Facebook group, how it's blessed them. And it's funny, I've seen messages on there where people will be talking about an episode and someone will be like, wait, there's an episode? This is a podcast? I thought it was just like a really awesome group of women. And it's that too. It's beautiful. And I love that we have women from all over the world a part of it. And I love the Marco Polo. I feel like I really like in Patreon because I get to know these women even more intimately. And yeah, we've had some women that have been part of the group and then left, and then they start their own little groups. And we've had some do book studies, and I love it. It's women that love each other and build each other up and aren't afraid to show the hot mess. And I really appreciate that. Okay, Christina, how do you deal with depression if you have? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a loaded question. So, yes, I have dealt with depression in my life. I don't currently deal with it, but yeah, I kind of think about two different times of depression in my life. And one was when I was in a really, really dark place. And I can get into it more another time. But yeah, I feel like it's before I knew the Lord for sure. And I just went through a lot. We moved a lot as a family. And I went to one school I lived in like 4 different states between fifth grade and eighth grade, different states, different schools, so much moving going on. And I just really hardened myself and my heart. And I like put on the boxing gloves and I was going to hurt others before they could hurt me. And, um, and I pretended like I was very strong on the outside and I was very weak on the inside. And I struggled with depression and self-hatred and lots of stuff. And it was really hard and really, I was in a really bad, dark place. And it was only because of the love of God and people that loved me and were willing to fight through that and love me that I got out of it. And it was me meeting the Lord and Our Lady dragging me out of it and bringing me to her son. And yeah, and I feel like that was a weird, crazy, miraculous healing from all sorts of stuff. And then more normal depression, I think that I feel like certain people go through seasonal depressions. I suffered from postpartum depression very severely after one of my children was born. And it was really hard. And I called up one of my good friends who I knew also suffered from postpartum depression. I didn't think that I was going through depression, but I remember calling her and saying, I just want everyone to leave me alone, no one to need anything from me, and I want to stay in my pajamas all day long, and everyone to leave me alone and not need anything from me. And she told me she loved me, and she said, I need you to call the doctor, and I need you to tell him that you need meds and that you need something to help you over this hump. This is depression. And I was like, I'm not depressed. And I was, but I was totally in denial. And it was a really hard time. It was a really rough, hard road. And I remember people that are very close to me that love me saying that they just wanted me to come back. They just wanted their wife back. They wanted their mother back. They wanted their friend back. Like, when's Cameron coming back? And it was really hard. And there was moments that I didn't think I'd ever come back and I'd never be me again. And that was hard. And I was on medication for it. And by God's grace, I made it back. And yeah, I found a lot of healing. But it was through the help of my doctor. It was through clinging to the cross. And I think through rest. Like, I went through a lot of trauma during that time. Like, I had a very sick baby who kept almost dying. And I wasn't sleeping. And not having sleep was really, really hard. And I think clinging to people that knew me and loved me prior to that. And I was in a new area and trying to meet new friends. And I don't think it was until afterwards that those friends realized that I was going through depression and through so much. And they were like, oh, I felt like, yeah, they just didn't know me. And then so as I was coming out of it, they're like, oh my goodness, you're such a bigger. I remember a friend of mine who's more melancholic. She's like, I'm not friends with cholerics or sanguines, let alone really intense ones like you. And she's like, but I was telling her, I'm like, I think it's because you met me in this like dark place and I was maybe less intimidating in that. I don't know. But yeah, it's hard. I'm praying for you. If you are going through depression, talk to someone about it, get help, go find a really good therapist, call a friend that maybe's been through it before, tell your spouse, see a psychiatrist or doctor, let your doctor know this is what I'm going through right now. I think because of this whole COVID quarantine lockdown, more people are suffering from depression, and ask for help, get help. It is not a sign of weakness to ask for help. That is strength. I will pray for the courage for you to ask for help. Okay, get help. Yeah, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Depression is rough. And yeah, a lot of people suffer from it, and a lot of people are suffering from it currently, especially as we're isolating from each other. And yeah, I remember early on in Lent, someone saying, I feel like Lent's been happening for over a year and it's exhausting. I'm ready for the next liturgical season. And it's like, yeah, our world's kind of been going through Lent. And yeah, get out, get friends, call on them, ask for help, let them know where you're at. And don't be afraid to yeah, admit that you need help. That is a sign of strength, not weakness. Okay, I'm going to just take one more because I feel like I've been going for a while. Okay, so You know what? I don't know if I should be reading names or not. Patreon members, tell me if I should read names or not as I'm asking these questions. Do you want me to tell people who you are or not? I'm just going to go in order and doot, and then I'll get more later. Okay, let's see. How do you forge new tiers in a community when you have an introverted husband who will usually exclude if... Okay, perfect. Okay. So when you're moving, it's exhausting. Totally get that. How do you get into a community, especially when your husband's more introverted and doesn't want to hang out with other people? Great question. So that's kind of me as well. My husband is very much introverted, but he has extrovert moments, I think. And so yeah, there's more times that he doesn't want to hang out with people than does. So like the idea of like going to a party or going to someone's house, it like really depends on the mood he's in. Like, yeah, I won't go into too much with us, but yeah, but inviting 1 or 2 people over for a glass of wine, he's more likely to be okay with that. And for me, with my husband, it's the mood that he's in. So it's almost better not to plan something to invite a bunch of people over, but when he's in the spot to be like, hey, should we invite this person over or this couple over and just hang out for a bit? It's like, even if I'm not in the mood to have them, I almost say yes to those situations every time because I'm normally in the mood. I'm definitely way more extroverted than my husband. So I always want to have people over. And so I think being aware and respecting him. So I feel like I have friends over more often than him. But if he needs to have alone time, then I go and sit on the porch and have a cup of tea with someone or do it during times that it doesn't really affect him. And then whenever he says, do you want to do this with someone else? I say yes. And maybe instead of trying to look at a whole group of people, just focus in on 1 or 2. And maybe it's just like the one guy that he connects to the most. And maybe it's like, okay, I wouldn't have picked his wife to be my friend, but if that's who my husband's the most drawn to, yes, let's go on a date as a couple, or let's invite this couple over for dinner. And then I think also not being afraid to do community in a mess. So for example, last night we had, people here have been so wonderful with me being sick. There was like a meal train, people were signing up. A friend of mine came over with food last night, which was so amazing and so wonderful. And I'm so grateful for her. She is a single mom. And so she made this food for my family, which was so beautiful and generous. My house was so loud and so crazy, and there's guys ripping up carpet and banging hammers and crowbars and tons of noise going on. And we all, like, as a thank you for them, like, we also like make pizza and have beer. And so we're like doing life and having dinner with them in the craziness. And I invited my friend and her son for dinner. And she's like, no, I did it for you guys. You have you time and like have your time as a family. I'm like, this is not a normal night. We have 2 kids down at gymnastics. We have 1 kid ripping up nails and carpet and all this stuff. And we have all these random young adults. And I'm like, this isn't going to be normal. But you, me, and these young boys can sit on the front steps and eat. And it was so beautiful. It was so lovely. And we had so much fun. And she said afterwards, she's like, you just made my son's night. Like, this was so great for him. Like, he ran around, played with his friend, and they encountered a bumblebee and were watching a bumblebee and talking about all the things it was going to pollinate. They refilled the water feeder for the birds. We hung some gymnastics rings in the basement. They played on that. They made comments about how beautiful the carpet was that the guys were ripping out. We're like, you each can have a piece of the carpet if you'd like. But they just had fun, and they were being boys, and they were being crazy. And we're halfway through prayers, my son's putting food in his mouth. I'm like, we're praying. And then halfway through eating, the cat came. So both of them got up and ran over. And so like, it was a big hot mess. It wasn't like this nice, sit down, have a conversation. And I think sometimes we think it needs to be that when we're building community and you're like, we want to put our best face forward. And it's like, nope, just be the big hot mess that you're in. Like, you just moved. You're going to have boxes everywhere. Invite a friend over to help you unpack boxes. That's part of community as well. And don't be afraid of that. So yeah. That is my answer to that question. Thank you everyone so much for coming on and watching this. Please click subscribe and share this with your friends. We're going to do the same thing for the podcast. So those of you that are listening, I'm also talking to people face to face, kind of ish. I'm talking to a lens that's going through the computer on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video, and if I make references of a shirt or something, I don't know, if you want to see what I look like in my big hot mess, because it's raining outside, so I have this lovely froey hair, that lovely mist rain and I slept in a towel, so it's just a hot mess. If you would like to see that, go on YouTube, subscribe to the Among the Lilies channel, and thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you again next week. Patron members, stick around. I'm going to do another little video just for y'all answering some more intimate questions. All right, thanks so much. God bless. Have a beautiful and blessed Holy Week.